Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is EMMANUEL, GYESI, an MBA student. I'm here to present on mesh supply chain management. So, before we will dive in, I would like to give you an overview of the traditional supply chain management. So, the traditional supply chain management is a linear, unflexible, straitjacket process which is not flexible. So because of this backlashes that the traditional supply chain is exhibiting, it has brought about modern or emerging supply chain systems. So the traditional supply chain management or traditional supply chain has a linear flow, rigid structure, limited on flexibility, as I said, and it have what it doesn't have alternative path, and it focus on cost efficiency. So let's go to the distractions that cause the backlashes of the traditional supply chain. The global uncertainties or the dynamism that happen in the environment, which normally distract the traditional supply chain, leading to the emergence of what the modern supply chain. So a typical example of the modern the distraction factors that causes the emergence of the new supply chain, that's the mesh or the network supply chain, the pandemic, the wars that is going on. That example, the Israel and Iran war, which Iran blocked the Strait of Hormuz, leading to what a breakdown of the traditional supply chain, and also lead to what the emergence of the modern supply chain called a network supply chain. So the traditional supply chain has broken down and it struggled to cope the dynamism of what the modern system or modern based economy that we have, leading to the pavement of the emergence of the network or the mesh supply chain. So the shift that brought about that has brought about the shift that led to the modern supply chain are the adaptability of the new or the mesh supply chain, the resilience of it, the flexibility of it. That all these factors have led to what the mesh supply chain. So the mesh supply chain is a structure, it's a web-like structure that connects so many partners, suppliers, distributors together. It has so many paths actually. So that's the mesh supply chain, and these factors tells us that the mesh supply chain is robust and it focuses on what flexibility, adaptability to so many situations. So as already said, the pandemic has brought about so many breakdown of the traditional supply chain, but this robust mesh supply chain is resilient. It can stand within time with any condition. If there is any distraction in the environment, this particular modern supply chain called the mesh can withstand any distraction, as already explained. So this is a video that I would like us to listen. It's an example from Amazon, which demonstrates how the pandemic has caused the breakdown of the traditional supply chain. Okay.
Wonder why prices went up? Or why products took months to arrive after COVID? It's all because the global supply chain broke, and it's still healing. Prices went up? Or why products took months to arrive after COVID? It's all because the global supply chain broke, and it's still healing. Let's break down what really happened and what's changed since. A global supply chain is how raw materials, parts, and finished products move across countries, from factory to customer. It's complex, interconnected, and depends on timing and trust. COVID disrupted all of that. Factories closed, ports shut down, borders locked. Suddenly, a missing chip in China meant no car in Europe or Africa. Since the pandemic, here's how the supply chain has changed. First, more reshoring. Countries want to make things closer to home. Second, inventory buffers. Companies now keep extra stock instead of just in time. Third, diversification. Relying on one supplier or one country is seen as risky. And lastly, more tech use. AI, automation, and tracking have become crucial. COVID taught us that efficiency is good, but resilience is better. When global supply chains break, everyone feels it. Prices go up, delivery times stretch. Some goods vanish from shelves. Think of everything you use: food, phones, clothes. Most are made through a global supply chain. COVID showed us that the global economy is more connected than ever. And when one link breaks, it affects the whole chain. If you're curious about how economics shapes our world, from trade to inflation to everyday money decisions, make sure to like and subscribe for more.
So after watching this particular video, we have been able to see the effects of the pandemic as an example, its effect on the traditional supply chain, that is linear, unflexible, and unadaptive. It's very rigid. So it has brought about the breakdown, the backlashes that I was talking about. The breakdown, it is very difficult for it to cope with this modern economy. So leading to what? The mesh supply chain. So what is mesh supply chain? The mesh supply chain is flexible interconnection network structure in a supply chain system. It has a multiple suppliers, interconnected nodes, and we have a flow of information, data, and decision making that are spread between or about that are spread evenly in this network. So that's the mesh supply chain. So now the core idea of the mesh supply chain is that it has multiple paths. So in the mesh supply chain, as I said, it's a web-like structure that has multiple paths. So if one chain break, the other must take over. As I said, the resilient aspect of it make it robust and continuity of it leads to the continuity of the supply chain. So as is being stated over here, they have a multiple path, and if one supply chain is broken, the other takes on, leading to what? The continuity or the flow of the process. So another thing that we look at is the characteristics of the modern supply chain called the mesh or the network supply chain. It's one of the characteristics is real-time decision or real-time data. That's transparency. The system is so dynamic and very flexible in the sense that all information, all data are known to all the partners that plays or that works together in this particular network. So I'm talking about the supplier, the manufacturer, the distributor, and the final consumer. Everybody has a fair idea, fair knowledge. So it is very transparent in terms of when they are making decisions. It is very transparent. Another characteristic is what? The decentralization in terms of each control and decision making. So as already said, the one is not one centered decision body that does everything, that does the decision, that take the decision in this particular network. All partners come on board, make an effective decision that everybody will benefit, everybody will be able to contribute to this particular decision. So example is that when Amazon is making decision, when Toyota is making decision, they will consider their partners that are involved in the network, so that they won't take any decisions that will affect them. So that the partners will be able to contribute effectively to the company. And we have another one. One of this, we have flexibility. That's in terms of dynamism. The system is very dynamic. It is very flexible. The suppliers, if one supplier fails, the other will take over because of the nature of the web. It has so many paths. It has so many connections that leads to so many suppliers. So in this particular web, we can have so many suppliers. We can have 10 or 20 suppliers. We can have 30 manufacturers. So if one manufacturer or supplier fails, the other suppliers are there, the other manufacturers are there. They will be able to sort you out by providing the necessary things that you need in your operations. And we have high connectivity. As you can see from the slide, the picture demonstrates everything clearly over here. So this is an example of an Apple web mesh supply chain. So you can see the logo of the Apple. We have all the connections that we have. So this is what I was talking about, the web-like structure. It is connecting so many distributors, suppliers, and so many customers around the globe. So we can see the world here and the interconnections of the path and linking it to the node. So that's basically, these are some of the characteristics of a mesh supply chain. Another thing that we have to talk about is the supporting technology that help this particular mesh supply chain. So we have the first one, that's the AI. The AI is a technology that help the customers, or help the organization to make a realistic decision, or take a realistic decision. It can also visualize their operations in terms of distribution and in terms of taking supply from their partner. So the AI help them to forecast, get to know the scenarios. So the visualized thing that I was talking about is that the AI is able to predict into the future. It's able to give them the scenario, the real life scenario possibilities, and also the fault that may erupt in case when in the situation where they are making decisions. So it will be able to rectify, predict faults in the web or their operations. And we have Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things are peripheral or devices that are used to track their products when they are being shipped through this many complicated path, as already seen, and also it will also seen over here. So with this path, if you don't use Internet of Things to track your product being delivered to customers, it will be very difficult for the operations of such an organization which is adapting the mesh supply chain. And we have another supporting technology is cloud. So it is very difficult for an individual to store this particular data linking or connecting to mesh supply chain. In mesh supply chain, because of the robust and so many paths in it, it makes it very difficult to record heavy data on small laptops and small computers. So the cloud make it possible to save or store huge data at the internet, so that we will incur more cost. So let's move on to the examples, the real world examples that we have. In 2004, there is a big earthquake at Japan, where Toyota operates. They also source their supply. So Toyota sourced their supply from Japan, and an earthquake happened at that place in 2011, which broke down the traditional supply chain. Due to this, Toyota have adapted this particular new modern supply chain called the mesh supply chain. So now they have they now outsource their supply, and they now outsource their supply from so many destinations through so many routes. Another example is Apple. Apple to have so many supplies we have some at China, Vietnam, India, Taiwan, and so many places. So they source manufacturers, they source supply and partners from so many countries, through so many routes, through so many paths too. And the last example is Amazon. We all know the giant of logistics. Amazon has demonstrated that they are one of the giant logistic operation company in the world. They have so many distribution centers or regions across the world. So it's become so flexible that when you place an order, it doesn't go to a straight center decision body that will disseminate the information. When an order is being placed, so let's say example, when an order is being placed, They will find the nearest center that is closer to you. Then they will deliver the product you ordered very quickly to you. So these are real world example that we can see. So statistically, we have what? The metrics, we have the supply chain, and we have the traditional supply chain. So average lead time in days, mesh supply chain is 5.2 and traditional supply chain is 7.8. The fulfillment rate in terms of percentage, mesh supply chain is leading, that's 96.5, and traditional supply chain is lagging. Then inventory turnover, the traditional mesh supply chain, that's the modern supply chain, is leading, and the traditional supply chain is lagging. Then we have what? In terms of the cost, that's transportation cost. So this is where I can say mesh supply chain is lagging. It have what? 12.50, and C in terms of cities, and traditional supply chain has 10.20. So flexibility, in terms of flexibility in index, we have mesh supply chain is leading, and traditional supply chain is lagging. So according to this statistic, we can see that the mesh supply chain has made advantageous than the traditional supply chain. So the benefit of this particular modern supply chain or the mesh supply chain include increased resilience. I've already explained. It is very flexible. It is very adaptive. It can change within a twinkling of an eye in any situation. So it becomes resilient. It fights the situation if there is any distraction, and fast responding to its customers. So it's as I've already said, Amazon have adapted this particular supply chain system. Wherever a customer is and wherever their distribution centers are, they will respond very quickly and swiftly to their demand and deliver the product to them very fast. And it reduces risks. Yes, it's true. This is one of the best benefits that mesh supply chain have demonstrated. If there's any distraction in the world, like the pandemic, the war that is happening currently between Israel and Iran, if you are operating with the traditional supply chain, it becomes a disadvantageous to you because the supply chain will be broken. It will not be able to contest in this modern world. So with the mesh supply chain, when Iran or when you are sourcing from Iran and there is a problem, then you can source from other countries that produce the raw material or that supply what Iran is supplying. And we have another one, the improvement of innovation. So the improvement of the innovation can be explained in the sense that because of the dynamism and many suppliers, many distributors in this particular web, all information, all data is being shared within these partners. So they can help you to improve in your operations. They can help you to rectify problems in your operations, leading to innovation. Where two or more people's heads are put together, there is a better decision being taken, and we have better service being delivered to the final consumer. A consumer will be very happy when his or her order is being delivered quickly and faster to him or her. And we have the last most important benefits that the mesh supply chain demonstrate or portray. That's continuity. Upon all these benefits, the continuity is the top notch of everything. When one supply chain breaks, there's a continuity of the other supplier or other distributor. So let's move on to the next video, which demonstrates or give us the importance of supply chain.
Mastering today's complex manufacturing global supply chains requires in-the-moment Mastering today's complex manufacturing global supply chains requires in-the-moment insight, dynamic in-depth intelligence, increased resilience, enhanced efficiency, and improved sustainability. The more you know, the more you can do, like monitoring supplier performance on price, delivery, and service levels, improving inventory turns and cycle counts to eliminate stockouts and last-minute reorders, and identifying and resolving supply disruptions further upstream before they impact your business. And that's just the beginning. By integrating all your data from across finance, purchasing, warehousing, and distribution, applying data from across your entire supply chain and your enterprise CRM, WMS, and ERP sources, you'll get a complete, real-time picture of your entire operation.
Upon watching this video, we have seen some of the benefits of mesh supply chain as stated on the slides. That's the resilience, that's the flexibility, interconnectedness of so many, continuity of the operations. So let's watch this particular video to giving us a fair idea on how the path also is being connected from the television.
Apology. Apology. Every network node is connected directly to all the others. So if you had 6 nodes in a network, every node would be able to communicate directly with the 5 others. In a partial mesh network, only some of the nodes connect to one another. So if node 1 is connected to node 2, and node 2 is connected to node 3, node 1 would have to go through node 2 to communicate with node 3.
Here are some of the challenges that we are supposed to talk about. So one is what? Complexity. Second one is high implementation cost. The third one is data sharing issue. Fourth one is a coordination problem. So as I said, the first problem or challenges being faced by mesh supply chain is complexity exploration. So there are too many nodes in the mesh supply chain network. Because of that, it's become very difficult for companies to operate, making it complex for them. And we have the second one, that's the high implementation cost due to the computer equipment or those kind of costs that will be incurred to acquire these heavy machines, make it more complicated and costable. And also in the cost also we can talk about the transportation. Because of so many paths in it, it becomes very difficult for companies to operate with this particular mesh supply chain processes. And we have the data sharing issue. Because of the use of computer, it has become very difficult for companies to share their information with their suppliers or distributors. And even hackers can also tamper with the devices and take away sensitive information that they will work against it. They will work against them. And the last one is what? A coordination problem, where 2 or more people are being put together, or where 2 or more people are sharing information. It becomes very difficult for them to make a stable decision or a stable output or outcome. So making it conflictable with each other's interest. So in conclusion, mesh supply chain is the future, but they come with higher complexity and cost, as I've already said. In the cost, the tech equipment that will be bought will make it more costly. But all what I say, mesh supply chain is the future.